If one day Quebec separates from Canada, I think that it's not based on the reality. And also it's not based on a fundamental principle within Canada. Within this federation, we need to cooperate. So don't go there. Don't go there. It's not going to happen. Quebecers had been asked the question twice and they answered no twice. And again, but that being said, it's creating economical instability, what Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is proposing, and that's not for today for us. We're saying that we want to have the bank here in Quebec, and we are asking the rest of Canada, those who are in this competition, don't go there. You don't need to go there.
Yeah, you can certainly ask it. As far as getting it, I'm not so sure. That's Marc Tanguay, of course, the Liberal House Leader, and he's speaking about this big bank. We talked about this story last week, right? The Future Defence Bank. Canada says, well, we know now it will be in Canada. The question is, in what city in Canada? We thought Montreal was in a pretty good spot. They worked hard at the Liberal Convention here to convince the government, of course, as well, and make their point heard. Now, all of a sudden, David Heurtel, former Quebec Liberal cabinet minister. David, Toronto, is this really playing dirty or not?
Well, I mean, in a sense, you could say they're playing dirty, but it is a fact. So this is taken out of a document that Toronto is circulating and talking about possible instability here in Quebec with the possibility of a referendum. What's funny about the clip you just played of Marc Tanguay, he says, no, it won't happen, and if it does, well, it'll be no.
Well, yeah.
But it's still instability. So, and that's the thing. If you're trying to attract major investment, whether it's the NATO bank or private investment from around the world, you are going to look for, if you're looking to invest, you're going to look for where is there the least risk. And regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, this brings instability. We remember everything that happened around the 95 referendum and the preparations that the Parizeau government was putting in place with the Caisse de dépôt and preventing that the Canadian dollar craters if the yes won. It will be. It will bring instability, and so political, economic, and others. So if Toronto is saying, look, this is a fact, well, it is a fact. Who's leading in the polls right now? Albeit it's a slim lead, but who's leading in the polls right now? The Parti Québécois. Right. And the leader of the Parti Québécois says there will be a referendum in the first mandate. So this is not made up. And I would add to that if you think this is hardball, I can only imagine what is being said. This is off a written document. But if you look just at what's been happening in the last few years, and I'm taking this from business people here in Quebec, if you take the open letters in the interviews of a prominent business leader like Andrew Lutfi has been talking about how difficult it is to do business in Quebec. If you take major business lobbies saying the red tape around the language laws are hell and are hurting businesses, are hurting the Quebec economy. If you look at what the Quebec government has done in terms of immigration, the very restrictive policies, because this bank won't be hiring only people from here. There are going to be people from around the world coming to work here. Do Quebec's immigration laws are they perceived as being as welcoming as they would be in Toronto or Vancouver?
Right.
Maybe not. So if you look at also two of our leading universities, McGill and Concordia, have been frontally attacked by the current Quebec government and hurt by this Quebec government based on what? Limiting foreign students. So all of this affects the reputation of a city. And so if you're in competition to win investments, I've been in those rooms, and that's what is discussed.
You know, I wonder, though, David, the truth, as you said, is, we've been through this kind of stuff before. If you're not old enough to remember how many businesses left and how many people left the first time around.
Oh, in 1980. Yeah. Well, in 76, when the first election of the Parti Québécois.
Exactly. And, they'll always try to fudge those numbers. But the bottom line is, it's not a secret that businesses and big businesses left what used to be the banking capital of this country is now in Toronto. So I think, when you're someone like this bank, right, an international bank, and to your point, I wanted to ask as well, does that mean if they move here, given they are an international company, they have to, you brought immigration issues, they would have to respect the language laws as they are now?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that, look, federally, I'm not sure exactly what, would it be a real bank? So it would be like managed and under the jurisdiction of federal banking laws. But what I'm talking about is that if you're talking about reputationally, you would talk about all these things. You would talk immigration-wise to come into Quebec, regardless of who you're coming to work for. If it's economic immigration, you have to go through the Quebec system as well as the federal system. And so you don't get a pass because you're at a big, important international project. And so the idea here is that if you're looking to argue for your city and you're looking to differentiate yourself from other cities, well, the fact is Montreal, and I'm sorry, but also just drive around downtown Montreal. I mean, the roads are a war zone. I mean, I would go as far as that as well. I would go as far as the cleanliness issue. There's garbage in the streets everywhere, every day. And so I'm sure in terms of what you're putting forth as arguments for your city, you're also attacking your competitors. It's part of the game. And unfortunately, while we have enormous advantages in Montreal, and I would love for Montreal to get it, but the fact is we live in this reality currently for Montreal and in Quebec.
So I'm wondering, Toronto being the business center, Vancouver's in the running for this as well. What's the advantage to Vancouver if you had to sort of look at this? I mean, the fact that they're on the West Coast, that's a disadvantage, isn't it?
Well, I don't think so.
No?
If you're looking on the West Coast, if you're looking at the defense industry, there's a lot to be said of being close to California, being close to Seattle, Silicon Valley, and there's a lot to be said also for the industries over there in BC. And so I would think there is that possibility of showcasing the fact that on the West Coast you have the proximity to a lot of major economic centers.
Thank you for. I was going to say thank you for making it feel terrible now that Montreal is facing these too. So
you asked me.
Yeah, you're right. I did.
Me, and I'm not saying again. We talked about this last week. How I felt that Montreal had amazing advantages, and we do. But also politically speaking, if you're the federal government, you're not going to come out of the gate saying, okay, my two preferences are Montreal and Toronto. You cannot do that if you're a liberal federal government. You have to say also that Vancouver's on the list, or else, there's a lot of seats that might remember it come election time.
So what you're saying is the argument that Montreal has the best strip clubs in Canada would really not make much difference, is kind of what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Let me move from that, David, on to the other story today, which is carrying a bit of political weight, but I'm not so sure that this lingers, the idea that this liberal who did some, illegal, unethical, I'm not sure what the rationale is here, to try to get Pablo Rodriguez elected liberal or leader of the party. She's not going to be running. They don't want her in the party again. Is this an issue that has some legs or not?
Yes, it does. Sona Lakoyan Olivier is the M&A for Shamadi. This is a big deal, Aaron. I know it seems technical, but I was in M&A for 5 years, and it is clear when you're in M&A, and if you happen to be a minister as well, it is made clear so often from the beginning, you cannot use any government resources for partisan goals. So you can't use offices that are paid by the people. You can't use the phones, the computers. You cannot use your personnel during office hours. Your personnel, on weekends and nights, they could do partisan activities, but not in the office. Not using phones that are paid by the taxpayer. Not using the offices paid by the taxpayer.
Okay.
And so that's what she did. That's what the report confirms. And so she did that. Her staff did that for 2 months during the leadership campaign for Pablo Rodriguez. That's a big no-no. It's using public property for partisan goal, and you cannot do that. And so that is a big deal. And it's the first time since the new ethics code has been in place that there's been a fine imposed. So the first time since 2010, there have been violations before, but first time there's a fine, $8,000. Now, it certainly isn't a big deal in the sense that we knew there were suspicions, there were allegations surrounding her, and I think voters have already put that behind them and associate that with the Pablo Rodriguez era. But at the same time, Aaron, I got to say, this report, it doesn't say anything that connects what she did and what her staff did directly to Pablo Rodriguez. But what it does show is that Pablo Rodriguez's team and himself didn't have enough oversight to make sure that people in his team, especially M&As that were publicly supporting him, weren't playing by the rules. And that says a lot about how he managed his own race. But there's no direct link to what there's nothing in that report that says he knew when he directed this.
But even if he didn't know, so the way you're laying this out, David, makes me think someone who was with him, someone in staff should have seen this, known this, and said something.
Yes. You would look, being in these races, you would definitely have somebody somewhere, somehow, that would have known that there was part of the operation to sell membership cards, to raise money, was being done out of a riding office in Laval. Somebody somewhere, maybe they didn't see it, maybe they ignored it, but somebody somewhere must have known. Now, the big question, was it big enough a reason for Mara Risky to fire Geneviève Haynes? Because that is part of the defense Mara Risky has put forward in the lawsuit that Geneviève Haynes, the former chief of staff of Pablo Rodriguez, who was fired, which started all of this controversy with Pablo Rodriguez's leadership. Mara Risky, through her court filing, says that there were allegations and that Geneviève Haynes apparently ignored them. But that remains to be seen through that court process. But this report today doesn't show anything that directly links Sonora Cayan to Pablo.
Well, to that point, then, does this turn into, I mean, you said it's a bigger issue than I perhaps laid it out because I don't fully understand it. Will this stick to the Liberals in this?
It's an ethics issue. Okay. I'm just saying it's not a detail concerning Sonora Cayan. I think it's the proper move. She will not be the Liberal candidate. I think she will not be your integrated caucus. She will not be a candidate. Does it affect? I think the bigger deal this week. It's not a good week for Charles Nadia. I think what he tripped up yesterday on
official languages
with saying 2 official languages in the National Assembly. That was a no. He had a good start of the week. I thought his response was really good at the beginning of the week, but he got tripped up again. Now this has been already discounted, but the real question is, there are still 2 other reports, Aaron, that we have yet to hear from. We need to hear from the UPAC, and we still need to hear from Elections Quebec. And the later these reports come out, if there's anything in them that is incriminating, that the accumulation could, of course, hurt the Liberals.
That would stick. All right, David, we'll leave it at that. I thank you. Appreciate it.
Adam.
This May, iHeartRadio celebrates Asian Heritage Month. Discover powerful stories, vibrant cultures, and unforgettable music. From inspiring podcasts to playlists that span East, South, Southeast, and West Asian artists. We're honoring the voices shaping our world. Listen now on the free iHeartRadio app and at iHeartRadio.ca.